Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back your Monsoon Commerce President and CEO, Brian Elliott.
Good afternoon. Thanks for coming back together. Thanks, Clark. Clark now knows what it feels like to sit in the audience and watch yourself on TV and cringe. There's a group now that's going to stand between you guys and drinks, but bluntly, if there's anything that can stand between this crowd and drinks, it's called Product Roadmap. John Evans and John Cena are going to come up and talk about what we're doing in terms of product roadmap on Monsoon Stone Edge and Monsoon Pro Edge. John Evans has been with us now for all of a month, actually less than a month. Out of our Portland office is the product manager running what we're doing on the Monsoon Pro and Edge side, marketplace-oriented software. John Cena has been with us now for all of 6 months here in our Collegeville, Pennsylvania office, running the Stone Edge team and helping deliver on that front. We're also going to have another session tomorrow morning at 2:45 to 3:45 where John and I will be up here and do a Stone Edge town hall specifically for questions above and beyond the roadmap and do a lot more Q&A. I wanted to stand up here and do this, though, instead of Casey for one real simple matter, which is I've had a number of Stone Edge customers in particular come up to me, given my presentation this morning, and I'm sort of surprised I haven't had Monsoon people come up to me and say, what are you doing, if you're building this web-based set of tools, what are you going to do with the installed product? The answer is we're doing both and. Part of what we're trying to get across this morning that I didn't do as effectively as I should have is express the fact that we are going to continue to enhance and support our installed products, Monsoon Stone Edge and Monsoon Pro Edge. Those products are supporting vibrant and growing businesses. What John and John are going to talk about this afternoon is the product roadmap for those two products. We are also investing behind capabilities that will sit underneath those products. We are also going to build a web-based tool. That web-based tool won't launch for a while, and bluntly will not be the product that a lot of our customers end up using ever. Some of you have built really robust and growing businesses and have done a lot of customization with the Stone Edge product. We do not expect that to change. We expect to continue to support that product, build it, and grow it. I want to make that abundantly clear. And you guys, among others, were the ones that asked me that question. Happy hour will be from 5 to 7, and you can corner me again out in the hallway. So John Evans and John Cena, come on up.
Good afternoon, everyone. Well, as Brian mentioned, I've been here all of 4 weeks, but even though the time that I've spent here in the last 4 weeks has been somewhat limited, I've spent the last 12 years working in the retail space with many multi-channel retailers to basically work on everything from small to medium to enterprise scale issues and opportunities. So I've been working with both domestic and international scale companies. I've been working with single-channel and multi-channel retailers, and the interesting thing that I've come to realize through those journeys that I've been on is that the problems that these companies face and the opportunities that they face are very similar in the retail space. Scale doesn't seem to play that big of an issue when you're trying to figure out how do I find the right customers, how do I find the right problem or the right products that I want to sell to my customers, and how do I meet that need on a sourcing level with the right time, the right place, the right channel to meet those customers, and then most importantly, how do I find a service experience or cater a service experiences that's nothing short of exceptional? So as you're thinking about how to scale your business and how to grow your business, those are some key things that no matter what size of business you are today or what size you're going to be tomorrow, that growth is going to continue to happen. So as we talk about kind of the near-term roadmap, one of the things I've managed to go backwards. Here we go. One of the things I wanted to start our conversation about today was talking about how we build the product at Monsoon. The key drivers that we look at, or the key inputs that we look at when we're building our products, and really what we're going to start to focus the process around, is really bringing in customer feedback. So, there's no more important voice that we can inject into this process than the voice of our merchants. As we're building the roadmap, as we're choosing those features and functionality that we're going to be introducing into the product suite, that is the most important voice that we can interject. The evolution of merchant needs are changing just as fast as customers' expectations for those merchant needs are continuing to evolve, and new channel opportunities are happening every day. So not only is it new channels as far as do we go marketplaces or web stores, but also do we go global? Do we figure out how to go to multi-form factor with smartphones and things of that nature? Technology and innovation and trends are continuing to shape that. You know, as I mentioned with smartphones, you know, it's interesting. Forrester just had a survey that came out in 2011 that said that $6 billion worth of transactions were done on mobile devices in 2011. And by 2016, that's going to hit $31 billion. And the main limiting factor to that is not customer adoption of those smartphones or those smart devices, but rather e-commerce retailers and retailers in general being able to respond to the changes in those needs. So technology is changing quickly. Our products need to be able to change as well. And then policies and standards changes. As we look at our marketplace partners, as we look at regulatory issues that face retailers in general, those things impact the way we build our products and continue to iterate on them. The next piece, and I also think a very important piece, is our partnerships. So we have very strong relationships with our marketplace partners, Amazon, eBay. We have regular touch points, Buy.com, where we're sitting in there, understanding the ways that they're changing their products and acting as a liaison for our merchants so that we can continue to make sure that those product changes that we need to make are not only handed over to our customers, but also done in a way that we take care of it for you. So ecosystem partnerships, as we think about ecosystem partners, there's no way that Monsoon is going to be everything to anybody. And the key to that is how do we find the right ecosystem partners that come together to really create that comprehensive multi-channel solution. Integration support, obviously we have to be integrated through dynamic APIs, through different types of web services, but also just integrated within the products within our own company. So between StoneEdge and Monsoon Pro, we have to build tighter integrations to support the needs of you as our customers. Innovation. We have to focus on the merchant experience. So we spend a lot of time and a lot of money thinking about how we optimize that customer experience. Thinking about not only how do we bring customers to our sites, but how to optimize that funnel as they move through to conversion. The same thing exists for us on the product management side here at Monsoon. How do we create a great experience for our merchants that make you guys excited to use the products? Ultimately, the more you're excited, the more you use our products and the better they're designed, the more efficient and the better opportunities you have to grow your business. The next piece is quality beyond QA. So quality to me, in a lot of, what I've seen in a lot of engineering companies before is something that happens after you develop code. I firmly believe that that's the wrong approach to it. And as part of our product management group, quality starts at the very beginning. It starts with how we capture the voice of our customers, the voice of our merchants, and make sure that not only are we translating that well into the way that we write our requirements and how we build our products, but as we move all the way through the process, how we continue to iterate and build regression scripts that allow us to test to make sure we have quality code bases. So quality, it's the most important thing. Focus on fulfilling the vision. So Brian spoke earlier about having to make this strategic decision. We were faced with an opportunity to go one of two directions. One, to continue to iterate the products in individual sides, continue to build them up. The other, to build a long-term vision that we were going to continue to move towards, to take the synergies of those two products and really start to build a comprehensive solution that meets the needs of multi-channel retailers as a whole. We're going to continue to do both. And that's the most important thing that we want to communicate here today with that vision, is that we will continue to iterate on Monsoon Pro and Monsoon StoneEdge, but we're going to create a solution that takes the capabilities of those both and creates the next version of how we come to market as internet retailers. And then finally, continuous improvement. To say that we have it all figured out right now, 4 weeks in, or no matter how long I've been in this space, is wrong. It starts with retrospection, it starts with reflection. We have to be able to, and we do this on an every 2-week basis. I was really excited to see that our engineering teams, our QA teams, we get together every 2 weeks. We figure out what we did well, what we didn't do well, and what we can do better next time. And the fact that we do that so quickly, so continuously, allows for us to continue to iterate on the way we build our products, and it will from here on out. I talked about regression. So every time we go through the process of releasing code to you guys through updates to your software, we have to build and continue to build new ways for us to not only test that, but make sure that we're not breaking any of the quality in those code bases. We will continue to invest in that space. And I have a counterpart on the quality side this is the thing that he enjoys more than anything, and I'm very happy to hear that. And then finally, the batter. The batter is a unique thing to Monsoon and something I haven't really seen before. It started as an opportunity for people within our sales and support organizations to kind of mingle with one another and start to basically trade roles and basically take phone calls from our customers and our merchants as they had problems, so that they can go throughout the organization and talk about those needs of our customers. The battery lives and prospers today, and it's a core part to how we continue to build up that kind of voice of the customer and all the products that we're building. So, like I said, customer voice, what we've heard from you. To succeed, you must have integrated solutions for multiple online channels. You must have competitive solutions for marketplace sales. You must have pricing automation and intelligence. And you must have efficient operations, fulfillment, and customer experience management. You must have the integration to existing operations and infrastructure. And you need real-time reporting and insights. These are some of the capabilities that we know you need, and we want to hear more about what those needs are. So as we talk through this roadmap presentation, and near the end, we're going to talk about continuing that conversation and how we continue to inject that voice into our roadmap. So some of our guiding principles to development: keeping and establishing that market leadership position. We want to be your choice of partner as you go to market in a multi-channel retail space. Bringing in the customer input and actively seeking that voice through our product development process, being process-driven. We're not going to continue to have a process that allows for, feature functionality requests to go amiss. It's going to happen. It's going to come funneling through a centralized group, and we're going to figure out how to get that prioritized and communicate those needs back to our customers. And that's the final point: effective communication. We have to be able to back up those promises and be able to, show you that your voice is being heard. So getting down to the tactics a bit, it begins with requirements gathering. We bring in all these disparate needs in through this centralized product management group. We basically look at a list of known enhancement requests, things that are coming from our marketplace policy changes. We have customer advisory groups that allow for that voice to be influenced. And finally, that ends up with a rationalized list of customer requirements that we're going to build into our product suite. We decide then, does that go into a patch fix that we need to release immediately? Does it go to a feature release requirement list that we need to actively monitor? Or does it go into things that our alliance partners may work with us to build that ecosystem? So a little bit more into the process of how we work. You saw this slide earlier, but I want to kind of reiterate what the point of this slide is. This is kind of talking to the scope of what Monsoon is going to continue to focus on. This is where we've always focused. We've done it in a way that's in multiple or parallel product streams, but we're going to continue to do that and find opportunities for us to bring those synergies together. And they're around multi-channel merchandising, product info and pricing, order lifecycle management, and procurement and sourcing. That's what we do. That's what we've always done, and we're committed to continuing to do that in a way that works best for our customers. So knowing that we have a lot of Stone Edge customers in the room today, and not necessarily everybody knows a lot about the opportunity to sell through marketplaces, or rather may not be selling through marketplaces today, I want to take a minute or two just to talk about the opportunities that marketplaces present. So the first one, and this may be a no-brainer, but the reduction in customer acquisition cost and time. So as we think about how we set up our web stores and all the different things that we have to go through, whether it be setting up our feeds to comparison shopping engines, doing search engine optimization, doing different types of marketing efforts, ad spend, all those pieces cost and reduce our margin. And marketplaces allow us to have that focused investment and focused entry right into a marketplace that has that attention and that customer base that can reduce that acquisition cost. So scale without sacrificing margins. We have web stores. They're overhead. We have to figure out how to reduce the cost to run those web stores. And one opportunity that we have is to sell through marketplaces such as Amazon, eBay, Buy.com, and more. The opportunity is to reduce that overhead while increasing our margins. We have new outlets for aged and overstock inventory. Not everybody's catalog makes sense to sell through marketplaces, or at least not their whole catalog. But there are parts of your catalog that may exist in your long tail that actually present a great opportunity for you to sell through marketplaces, and they should be used in that purpose. So identifying the right sets of categories, the right sets of products, and optimizing those for marketplace selling is a great way to take advantage of it. Testing and validating demand for new products and categories. One of the greatest ways that you can leverage these marketplaces is to figure out what products are really selling and what opportunities you have to sell through these marketplaces or introduce those products into your web stores. Figuring out what products, without having to necessarily source them immediately, creates a great opportunity and something that you can use to your advantage. And then ease of expansion into new geographic markets. So you've seen the investment that continues to happen by companies like Rakuten as they invest in Buy.com and all these other marketplaces around the world. You see the investment that Amazon and eBay are making. eBay's building up X-commerce, this global venture that they're working on to build up international commerce. And Amazon continues to build out their capabilities on Amazon.com, Canada, France, Germany, etc. So the move to international is happening whether we like it or not. Our customers are wanting to buy our products internationally, and whatever we can do to reduce the pain for our retailers to sell through those international markets will be a very strategic focus for us as we come through the next couple of years of Monsoon's commerce products. Targeting and serving mobile shoppers. So I talked about this a little bit before. Mobile shoppers want to shop through mobile-enabled retail experiences, and these marketplaces have already started to do that. They've already built apps, they've built mobile-optimized sites, and they create a great opportunity for you to not only sell your products to mobile shoppers, but also to enable mobile shoppers to be able to use your products as a way of finding more information about your web stores, your business as a whole, et cetera. So mobile opportunities that exist in these marketplaces are a huge opportunity to take advantage of. And then leveraging integrated fulfillment services. All of you know about Fulfillment by Amazon, and all these marketplaces are talking about, eBay's made some strategic decisions that they want to continue to move in that direction. How do we take advantage of more of these marketplace fulfillment opportunities, checkout opportunities, et cetera, that we can use to reduce that cost to serve? So the growth trend for marketplaces continues. You've probably seen some of these stats around the internet flying around, but Amazon's Q1 of this year's growth of 34% with a 60% growth in third-party sales. That's you guys. You guys are the ones that are driving that 60% growth of third-party sales through Amazon. Look at those stats. General merchandise revenue of $7.9 billion just in the first quarter. Media revenue, $4.71 billion. So we're talking about $13 billion of revenue flowing through these two groups of product categories within Amazon's marketplace domestically. eBay, very interesting stats as well. Their growth is up 29%. They did $68 billion of GMV in 2011, and that's $2,100 every second that's flowing through eBay's marketplaces. They've got 100 million active users globally, and X-commerce is their initiative that they continue to invest in. They just made a joint venture partnership with SoftBank in Japan last week, where they're continuing to invest in the international commerce space, and you'll continue to see that happen for eBay and the rest of these big marketplaces. We also have very strong ties to other major marketplaces like Buy.com, through the Libris marketplaces that are part of the Monsoon family, Half.com, Play, et cetera. And marketplaces as a channel will continue to grow as a focus for us within the Monsoon commerce products. So one thing I wanted to do is kind of level set the group here on, is Pro right for my business? There's been a lot of conversations about, I use Stone Edge today, but I'm trying to figure out, is Pro the right next step for me in order to take advantage of something that's in the same family, but also may create a growth opportunity for my products. And I want to try and make it as simple as possible in doing that. So I created this 2x2 here, and it talks about basically the types of products you sell. And it goes from commodity to unique. And if you think about commodity products, these would be things that are already listed up on Amazon. They're things that have standard identifiers like UPC numbers. They're things that allow for us to basically use Monsoon Pro's capabilities of pulling down dynamic product traits and information and use those to dynamically price them in a competitive environment. If you're selling very unique products that you might have one-off inventories of, and you're trying to sell those through your own web stores, Pro might not be the right solution for you. But if you do have those types of products and you're considering Pro as an opportunity for you, these are the types of things that we kind of use to qualify our customer base when we're talking about Pro as a product. The bottom line there is volume. The number of catalog items that you're managing, as well as the amount of inventory of each of those items that you're managing as well, are significant factors in whether or not it makes sense for you to go to Pro. So think about that a bit. We could always talk about this offline on an individual basis, but when you're kind of using this as a finger in the wind litmus test, this is a great way to think about Pro as a software option. So now that I've kind of talked about marketplaces, how we do our product management and development process at Monsoon, I want to go a little bit more into detail with where Pro is today and what are some of the near-term roadmap items that are on the list. So our latest release of Pro is version 4.2.2, And that brings a lot of enhancements in the general merchandise arena, as well as international growth opportunities for those sellers that are taking advantage of that. So some of the key features and functionality for those that haven't used Pro before: it does inventory receiving and management, does dynamic automated pricing through our patented pricing engine. It does merchandising capabilities, light order management capabilities that handle that multi-marketplace functionality, fulfillment needs through FBA, your own warehouses or third-party logistics companies, reporting and analytics capabilities, as well as integration to other vendors, as you've seen outside, as well as integration to StoneEdge. So some of the notable highlights that I want to call out specific to eBay and Amazon are, number one, the support for Amazon European marketplaces. So we are supporting UK, Germany, and France through this new release of the product. We are increasing our general merchandise support for Europe and Canada. And we are also, for our media sellers, I know this is an item that has been hot on the list for a lot of you for a long time, we're now offering expedited shipping for Amazon UK sellers. On the eBay side, we're doing a whole new inventory receiving UI for sellers that basically allows for you to pull down the traits or the item specifics from eBay's catalogs. And if you've worked with eBay before and you know the complexities of their taxonomy, you'll know the benefits in having this as a tool for you to be able to suggest categories and pull those item specifics. We also then enabled inventory filters and searches to make it easier to use those item specifics to manage your inventory and search through your products. And then we also enhanced the inventory import and export by adding those inventory traits or those item specifics into our import and export process. So those are some of the key features that are coming with 4.2.2, and we encourage you, to get onto that version of the product as soon as you can, because there are a lot of great opportunities to grow your business through it. So the piece that you've probably all been excited to hear about is kind of where's Pro going in the short term. So Brian's done a great job of kind of talking through where we're going and what our long-term vision is. But in the short term, I want to let you know what are the types of buckets of functionality that we're working on. The first one is, and most importantly in my mind, is ongoing eBay and Amazon platform changes. So you probably know about some of the upcoming requirements that are coming in the summer for eBay and Amazon. We're working actively with our relationship partners at those marketplaces to ensure that we don't have any disruption of service for our merchants and that we have everything that you need to stay compliant in those marketplaces. We will continue to do that, and that's our commitment to you as our merchants. The next piece is the expansion of cross-border trade and international marketplaces. So I just mentioned Amazon expansion into UK, Germany, and France. There are more marketplaces in the international space, and there's a multitude of opportunities for us to continue to grow into those spaces, and we're looking at each of those as a strategic opportunity for you to grow your business. The expansion of FBA and fulfillment tools. Fulfillment policies with FBA are changing on a daily basis, and we're continuing to think through how we iterate our products to be able to take advantage of some of the new requirements that eBay's enforcing, as well as ways in which we can optimize that process for you on your inventory shipping and receiving policies. Continuing to move more towards the hosted services approach, so continuing to build services that we can, basically build commonalities across our product lines, but also in the spirit of that long-term vision, how do we build services that allow you to take advantage of things in a much more iterative fashion in a cloud-based environment. And then finally, support for variations in complex SKU relationships. So for all the general merchandise sellers out there, I'm sure this is something that is really important to you, and we want to make sure we get this right. So we've been actively working with you as our customers to make sure that we understand the needs that you have from a parent-child SKU relationships to how those variations and accessory relationships continue to build out. And that's an area of focus that we are continuing to work on as we release into the next couple of months and into the next year for our product roadmap. So that's kind of the highlights of what we're focusing on the Pro roadmap. I'm now going to hand it over to John Cena, who is going to be talking to you about StoneEdge and StoneEdge 2012. Thank you.
Got it, thanks. So John did a great job at explaining and really going through from an educational perspective the process we go through and the rigor that we're trying to employ. So I'm going to peel that back, and I'm going to talk about when I first got here. So as many of you know, we had this thing called Order Manager 6 out, and it was the culmination of 2, 3, 4 years of really trying to figure out what customers wanted and there was a lot of requirements, and there was a lot of things, and there was a lot of meat to that release. But one of the first things that I did is I said, you know what, we really got to pull this thing back, and we've got to figure out what's important here. It seems so large, it seems so overwhelming, and I mean, the bottom line is we saw support tickets, and we saw angst on behalf of the customers, and we saw a lot of questions, and to even kind of compound that was the Monsoon acquisition. What's going to happen to this product, and what's going to happen to this, and so, and I've talked to some of you about it, undoubtedly. What I realized really quickly is the StoneEdge user base is a huge community, right? So many of you have grown up with the product. Many of you have started businesses on the product, and you've succeeded, and you've grown, and you've been very successful. And what I realized is there's a huge amount of passion, right, which you don't normally get for a software company. I've been doing this for 25 years. You don't get that. And so immediately we had to start making some hard decisions. And I remember slaving it over with Brian and some others of what do we do here? There's a lot of dissatisfaction. There's a lot of things that really weren't turning out. Now, the caveat is that version 6 was pretty innovative, especially for StoneEdge. There was a lot of things, a lot of rewriting, getting it to a new database, getting it to a new architectural platform, delivering on warehouse management functionality, delivering on things that folks had asked for, better order import capabilities, et cetera, et cetera. So there was a great innovative capability there. The problem is getting back to what John said and bringing it forward here, is that we didn't understand the priorities. We didn't understand what was important to folks. We didn't understand what folks can do to run their business immediately. We didn't understand what was palatable to everybody, and we certainly didn't understand how much change everybody could tolerate. And so the calls happened, and I reached out to hundreds of customers, and hundreds of customers inbounded to us. And so what did we do? We basically went and said to ourselves, we've got to pull version 6 back. And so it wasn't because we needed to pull it back and be disruptive to everybody. It was we had to come back and think about the building blocks of this application. And as I said, addressing the needs of the community, what was important to everybody. So again, numerous bugs, numerous issues that we had, customization limitations. I can't tell you how many people called me and said, wow, you've got half of an architecture. It's half in this architecture and half in that, and my customizations are going to be disrupted. And so we started to think, you know what? We kind of have to start from scratch here. We have to use some good baseline code and build upon that and start cleaning some things up, listening to customer input, and executing on it. And the most important thing of this whole release is it wasn't congruent with the things that John just talked about. So it really employed no real rigor. It really employed no prioritization and enhancement request process. And it was really not iteratively gone back and forth with the customers to say, will this work for your business? So we pulled it back. And what we did was we said to ourselves, how do we make this product better? In the short term, there's going to be some pain. And people aren't going to like some things. And people are going to get angry. And people are going to question things. But we said to ourselves, it's better to do that, better to reset expectations, better to do something that was on a more stable type of infrastructure and build upon that than it was what we were doing. So that's why we released 5.9. Or re-released 5.9, so to speak. I want everybody to understand the reasoning behind that because I think there's a lot of still trepidation and why and when. And back to the communication thing that John talked about, there's no doubt we can communicate better, and you're going to see that today because you're going to see some things that we really haven't talked about, but I think they're going to be eye-opening. And we know we need to get better at that. But that was the basis of why we did what we did. So 5.9, some of the things that we did. How do we get the bugs and do some code fixes? How do we make our shopping cart experience much more robust? How do we clean up some of the complaints that we're getting just from a baseline aspect? Nothing innovative, but a baseline aspect. How do we do an integration with Monsoon Pro? How do we do an integration with ShipRush, knowing that we had an API of FedEx being migrated? Then finally, how do we stabilize this and prepare it for what I would really term more innovative things? And so that's what we did. You heard Order Manager, Order Manager, Order Manager. The product's now going to be called StoneEdge. And StoneEdge's first release of this product will be called StoneEdge 2012. So what did we do first? As I said, talk to many of you. And if I haven't talked to anybody here, come and talk to me. It's just from the sake that we have 13 or 1400 customers, it's been difficult to get to everybody. But the first thing I said was, or everybody said to me was improve the user experience, make it easier to train my staff, clean up things that have been buggy and quirky and workflow that hasn't been right for years. Help me have to rely less on training and education when I enable a new employee. Help me not have to call into support as many times when I just am very confused about how to use the application. And that's what we did. So with this release, we started from the baseline. How do we improve usability? How do we take out some of that quirky workflow? How do we duplicate a workflow that's really more relevant to your business and the way you do business so you can do business? How do we decrease that training and education time? Like I said, folks don't want to spend time ramping up new employees. Folks don't want to spend time retraining employees on new releases. And the bottom line is there was some confusion with those little releases. 2012 is now going to be in beta. I'm going to announce that right now. We're going to general release in that in Q3. So again, Order Manager to 2012. We started with a user interface. You're going to see some of the other requests that we got. Much more stable foundation. And that's what we're going to use as the building block. So this is the current main menu that you're all pretty much familiar with, and many of you have used for 10 years or more. What's that? That's a big improvement over the last. It's great, isn't it? A little bit confusing, a little bit kind of just everything is in your face, no real navigation type of things. That's 2012. So it is dramatic. We streamline business processes. We put things at people's fingertips, let them drill down, don't have everything immediately in front of them. From a workflow perspective, when you have employees, think about how much easier this is to train employees now that we've cleaned some of that up. Another screen. Let's look at the process order screen. I had more complaints about this screen and how it functioned and what it did than all of them combined. So again, busy, confusing, lots of workarounds, lots of workflow issues. That's the new process order screen. Much more streamlined, much more easy to understand, much more intuitive. Similarly, the inventory screen, and I think you see the theme here. Lots of information, and information is great, but the presentation layer is even more valuable to make it actionable, to make it digestible. Drill down to your heart's content. Different roles within the organization need to see different things. So let's start with that piece that's easily digestible and let you drill down. Let's make it look much more streamlined. None of the functionality has changed, I might add. We didn't rip anything out. You know, on first glance, you may say, well, wow, how could you fit everything that I had on some of these screens? And again, let's make it more usable. Let's make it more user-friendly. That's 212. Couple of other innovations. PCI compliance. Another promise of 6, right? And PCI compliance obviously was very important that we attained it and we achieved it. It was virtually impossible to do in version 6. Why? Because think about the very benefits you enjoy with StoneEdge. It makes it pretty challenging to make it PCI compliant. Think of the access nodes. I can use it with marketplaces. I can use it with bricks and mortar stores. I can use it with shopping carts. I can use it with e-commerce platforms. I can use it with my customizations. It's a very open system. I integrate 40 shopping carts, actually 45 shopping carts for that matter. I integrate it with 10 payment gateways. Pretty easy problem, not easy, but less challenging problem to solve if I'm only supporting 4 or 5 shopping carts, maybe a payment gateway or 2, and have some very definitive point of sale processes. But again, the openness that everybody enjoys, the ability to customize this application, the adaptability of this application, the versatility of it made it a little bit challenging. So what did we do? We said we needed to create a standalone payment module so that you could still enjoy some of the benefits that you have and some of that flexibility, choose your partners, make sure you have some choice, and we don't have that rigidity that you don't like in a software application. And so we decided that we would build a PCI-compliant payment gateway, or payment module, rather, I should say, not gateway. StoneEdge, the application, will be PA-DSS exempt. The billing functionality and the credit card processing functionality will be eventually taken out of that into this module. We now have PCI compliance. That aspect is in September, October of this current year. Again, probably a little slower, and I know that we probably all thought this was going to be quicker. We believe this is the best way of approaching this problem and fixing it, and also allowing you to maintain some of those things that you, quite frankly, told me you needed to maintain. So this was the approach that we believed we needed to take. The third component of this was support. And we have a challenge with support. We support a lot of customers. We have a lot of training and education to do. And we understand, folks don't have IT departments. Folks need a lot of training and education. For many of you, you think you can remember when this was your first application, maybe your second or third, but certainly maybe your first order management application, it was difficult. And it's difficult to get ramped up and difficult to make it usable and difficult to understand it because, quite frankly, you want to sell stuff, sell more of it to more people. You don't worry about the order management aspect of it. It's certainly important, but again, it's something that perhaps you're not as well-versed in or need to be well-versed in. So we said to ourselves, we need to create some more and new enhanced support packages. So I've had people say, you don't provide weekend support. You don't have full US coverage in weird time zones. I need to be able to get some priority support. I need to get some enhanced support. I need enhanced training and education. Well, you'll see, and I'll be happy to share this with anybody, and we can go through some of the programs, because we'd love to hear even more feedback on it. But in July, you're going to have hourly-based support, incident-based support, all-you-can-eat support. You're going to have things such as, how do I have priority access because I have a critical injury to my system? I'm down. I need to move to the head of the class. You're going to have things and options, and all these will be options, and they'll be priced accordingly. And I'm not saying that they're under the current support model right now, but the fact is you will have those options to have so that if you believe you need them and you believe you need that enhanced coverage, we'll be able to deliver on that. And so that's a huge development that we've never contemplated before, and we think that'll add a great value. In addition, during this time, we'll start building up a professional services type of offering, more training and education offerings. We want to provide more of those services and value-add things, so stay tuned after we roll this out to see more of those things and to see more of those conceptualizations come into reality. So our product roadmap. Again, all these things pretty much summer, fall. So Stone Edge 2012, the payment module, enhanced support levels. The product roadmap is really based off of customer feedback. We heard three things that resounded with us. First was the user interface. The second was warehouse management, or the ability to pick, pack, and ship and enhance that process. The third was a tighter QuickBooks integration. The fourth was improve my order import / shopping cart type of functionality integration so that it's smoother, that it takes less time, it's more streamlined. And so those are all our near-term things that we're working on in various releases. We'll have those blueprints, we'll have those iterations out shortly. We're trying to figure out what the timing is. We want to deliver this Stone Edge 2012 first, and then start building upon the success of that. And then, of course, we'll revisit the connection into Pro. Future efforts, everybody talks to me about multi-location, and to a certain extent, we could perhaps solve that with some warehouse management functionality that we're thinking about, but we're thinking about how do we achieve multi-location capabilities? Again, future efforts. How do we achieve some tighter supplier management and some tighter sourcing and procurement functionality, purchasing functionality? And then lastly, a lot of folks have asked me, when can I get off the Access backend into something that's more simpler for me, but may not be full-blown SQL? And so we're going to start to investigate some SQLite types of implementations. Again, those are future efforts. We haven't really gone through the prioritizations of those. They're being future investigated, but stay tuned for that too as well. So with that, how do we influence? And John talked about we have feedback loops and mechanisms, and we're continuing to roll these out. We're continuing to coalesce advisory groups and mechanisms of input to employ that rigor and figure out what needs to be in our next release. There's a wide variety of things you can do. You can certainly call John and I, send us an email, and our addresses and all our vitals will be published at the end of this presentation. But there's a wide variety of ways you can go about doing this, whether it be on the web, going to our website and actually asking for a feature enhancement, whether it be through a support ticket that might be opened up, whether it be through a simple email to us, or we now have a product management linkage into our email. And all we're going to ask you to do is some simple things. We're going to push a little bit back and say, why do you want this? Why does this make sense? How is this going to save you time? What kind of money is this going to save you? Why is it important? We just want to know some of that thought that goes into this. We can't promise to get back to everybody on a real-time basis, but you'll eventually get back to. And we'll figure out how that fits in the priorities, and we'll figure out if it's realistic for us to do. I think that's the most important part of that process. So with that, questions? Yes, sir.
Now that the FedEx grandfathered API is going away, what are you going to do?
What are we going to do?
I mean, you're not going to be able to compare rates. You're not going to be able to do it.
Well, our solution to that was ShipRush, as most of you probably know. And you're right, the API is expiring on on May 31st. So our answer is that we have to invoke the ShipRush functionality that we purchased for Stone Edge back on the 5.9 release. On United States Postal Service with ShipRush? I thought you said FedEx, I'm sorry.
Well, FedEx, ShipRush, you're not going to be able to sit there and click and see comparison ratings.
Can I take that one?
Go ahead.
Folks have asked me, why do you talk about building components that we can use across multiple products? That's actually a great example. And one where we actually have people building alternatives and ways in which we can actually do rate shopping, address validation, not just USPS, UPS, FedEx, but also DHL, Royal Mail in the UK, other places like that. That's the kind of functionality we ought to be either building or buying once and using and deploying in multiple places. In the meantime, we need to work with the ShipRush guys and make the FedEx API transition work.
And as far as ShipRush, we're having some unique talks with them about how do we do some of that more cross, I don't want to say comparison because I'm not going to reveal some of the things, but how do we include more of that functionality in a more of a unified offering rather than use ShipRush just for FedEx and then you go to Stone Edge for UPS and all that other stuff.
I had a question for John.
Yeah.
Evans. When you pull in the information from eBay, the template that you pull in, are you going to be able to pull in any pricing history or sales history with that to see a range of where items have sold in the past?
That's a good question. I believe the item specifics that we're pulling down right now are solely attribution types of information, not necessarily historical pricing information. I have to double check on that one for you to be sure of that, but from what I understand, it's more taxonomy-based category information and then item-specific attribution data, so not necessarily historical pricing or calculated types of information at this point.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know if this is on or how to turn it on. While I'm talking to this. Right now, Monsoon software is primarily pulling down real-time data, not historical data. So basically, it would call to the market, to the eBay market, and it would say, again, if you have UPCs and standard product identifiers where we can go out to the eBay market, match against an existing product set, we can pull back the real-time competitive offers for what that product is listing for now, as opposed to what it listed for 3 months ago or sold for 3 months ago, 2 months ago, 2 weeks ago. So that's really what our focus has always been, is on the sort of real-time, near-term, right-now pricing, because we believe that that helps you be more competitive in the real time. So.
Just a little constructive feedback, and don't take it the wrong way.
We won't.
Tried to upgrade to 5.9, some of the more recent versions, and we had to downgrade even on 5.9. It just wasn't working.
Okay.
Created, I think, 4 support tickets, very little feedback, never really got things answered. I know it has come out again as another release. I can't deal with it, so I'm just kind of holding back, and that's one component.
Right.
I've been with 4 order management systems in 15 years of e-commerce experience, and I've never seen a major release rolled out in Q3 or early Q4 for one reason: Christmas. I'm telling you right now, even if I was to beta it soon, I wouldn't recommend doing anything until January for me personally, to my team.
Yep.
And I'd love to start baiting and playing with it now, but it's just, it's really important to think about seasonality with e-commerce, and
Absolutely.
It looks beautiful. I think the interface is going to be huge for everyone, and it sounds like from a features and functionality standpoint, you're keeping with the core and really just changing interface, and I understand that presentation layer may not affect functionality, but it's going to be a huge change for people, for sure. Yeah, go ahead, Tim.
I just want to add to everyone, beta all you want, whenever you want, in a test environment. You can beta on December 15th in a test environment. It's not going to hurt anything. And I would recommend I'd like to see as many people playing with the betas as possible, because that's going to help the product develop. But beta in a test environment, some people were telling me they baited 6 on real data. You don't do that. You just don't. So
That's good feedback.
VMware is not that expensive. VirtualBox is free. It's not that hard to set up a test environment. do that, please.
Thank you.
It's hard for a lot of people, but certain users can do that for sure.
Right.
Hi, would you recommend waiting till Stone Edge 2012 is offered before making decisions about going with some of your partner solutions for like shipping and that kind of thing? Because I'm kind of confused about, we ship FedEx, UPS, US Post Office, we ship everything.
Okay.
And we're just trying to come up with a really clean, simple solution within Stone Edge if possible, and not have to go on, open up different browsers or to look up rates and that sort of thing. And I just feel like people are avoiding answering the question for various reasons. And, I'm here, for this conference because I was hoping to come up with a solution for this coming, Christmas season.
Right.
And I don't feel real comfortable that I have a good answer, and I don't really want to wait till July or August or something like that. So what can you say to
just
that?
just to be clear on the shipping side? The shipping, so back to the functionality, the underlying premise or the functionality of this has not changed. It will still be the ShipRush solution for FedEx, so to speak. From how do we come out of 2012 and do some of the things that Brian had been intimating about, how do we build some of that functioning innately within the application or share some services among different applications, or even some of the things that we're talking about to ShipRush and others, that's going to be a little bit more in the future. It's a challenge, and we're trying to embrace it, but it's, again, within the innateness of the software, it's been a little bit difficult.
Out of the 40 to 45 cards that you're going to be supporting in the new system, how many of those are enhanced and improved versus, just a repeat of what you have today? And I'm specifically interested in Channel Advisor.
Okay. So we looked at all the carts, and like I said, there's probably about 45, and I get maybe 2 phone calls a month of other carts that have wanted to integrate with us. The short answer, or maybe it is actually the long answer to that, and let me kind of peel that back. Those carts that are most popular and most utilized, that are PCI compliant, that are congruent with the way we're going to become PCI compliant, that you as customers say we need to have, that's the prioritization effort that we're having. And the flip side of that is from an enhancement of those, call APIs or interfaces, a lot of these companies for the first time, we're starting dialogue on true partnerships. Before, as you know, it was maybe a plain vanilla XML integration. Things may break on the cart side, things may break on the Stone Edge side, and maybe it really wasn't as well defined, and there was some lost expectations and, quite frankly, some customer angst. So with those same companies that we're seeing, we're developing enhanced relationships. We're talking about support issues. We're talking about how to roll those interfaces out in a much more organized manner. We're talking about sharing each other's versioning and, quite frankly, figuring out how to enhance those experiences. What might initially happen is we're going to kind of prioritize those. I'm not at liberty to say what kind of the priorities will be now, but we will be shortly. And we may say, hey, 5 or 10 of these will be this quarter, and 5 or 10 of these will be this quarter. We're trying to establish that rollout of it. So I know it's kind of a long-winded answer, but supporting 45 carts has been a little bit of an instance with us, just because there's that expectation that you have both on the cart and on Stone Edge, and when things break or things don't go off as smoothly as planned, people end up being angered and upset, and et cetera. And so we're trying to kind of work on those baselines first and then start the enhancement process. Put those practices in place and then figure out what makes sense to enhance. And it's all going to be based on customer feedback, such as yourself. Yes.
I like the enthusiasm and the road for the future. I just have one suggestion. I don't know who decided to remove the old versions from the gateway. We recently forced into an upgrade that we didn't want to do it just because we added one CC.
Okay.
And we went to look for the old version, and it's not there, and we didn't keep it.
Right. I guess the short answer to that is it's difficult for us internally to support multiple versions and have those on that gateway. If there's 8, 10, 15 versions from our support infrastructure, as you would well anticipate, it's very difficult to figure out it does this in this version, it doesn't do it in this version. We may have taken things out in that version and repurposed them in another version. So it adds to kind of that support backlog and increases our tickets and causes confusion and et cetera. So what we chose to do is keep a couple of versions back, support a couple of different things. But if we didn't do that, quite frankly, we'd have higher ticker volumes. We wouldn't be able to introduce some of the things that we want to introduce. And it's, again, back to the customer side, it's going to cause that customer angst because, quite frankly, we can't support 10 or 12 or 15 versions. For you to re-download and dial back in.
Yeah. And as a matter of fact, it costs you more support tickets because now I have a new version that doesn't work as well as the old version, and we have to call. And I think at least a year we should keep that.
Okay.
I mean, in the future, maybe everyone should realize we should keep.
So why don't you and I, if you can grab me after this, why don't you and I talk about that and why it didn't work for you, and maybe we can kind of pinpoint the exactness of that. How about that?
I have one question. In the past, I've been used Stone Edge for many, many years. There's obviously been big problems with releasing, what just happened with 6.
Right.
And having issues. So there's a lot less beta testers than there used to be. So how can we be assured in the future, or what is your process to make sure that the new releases that come out are actually, won't have major critical issues? What steps are you taking to make sure that is?
Are you saying that there's a lot less beta testers?
Yeah, I think there's a lot less beta testers because people are scared to do upgrades because of major issues. It happened to me many, many years ago.
Right.
But since there's less beta testers, how are you internally making sure that Stone Edge works on different platforms and doesn't have major issues?
Right. So there's a certain amount, and John actually talked about it. We got to get better at regression analysis and regression testing and making sure those things don't happen. There was an overemphasis on moving forward and getting to new and embracing new stuff and retiring stuff, or maybe not retiring stuff, but not addressing things. There's no doubt that's an area that we can improve upon. On the beta side, I think the thing that we're bringing to the beta program is much more formality to it, much more feedback loops. Not to say that you didn't have that in the past. One thing that we found out is that Stone Edge actually had too many beta testers. So it's a lot. It's granted, great mechanism to find bugs and et cetera, but we're also missing kind of that candid feedback of business process and do you use this or don't you use this or whatever it might be. So I think you're going to see a little bit more control in that process. I don't think I know. So I think it's combined with that, knowing that we've got to get better at testing and QA and regression analysis and regression testing, and then going forward, how do we actually make that beta program much more formal, install it on test boxes, don't say that it's a critical type of, you run your business on it right out of the gate, and we have some issues. And I just think some of that rigor that we've talked about putting in place is going to improve the process, probably from what you're used to, dramatically.
I'm going to ask a favor. Does anybody have a question for John Evans? We're going to do another hour. John Cena and I, along with Kim and John Fraser and others, will be here 2:45 to 3:45 tomorrow to do a Stone Edge town hall, open-ended question and answer. I'd love to make sure that if anybody has, God forbid, a question for Mr. Evans, they actually get a chance to get it out. We've got one in the back.
When are you going to get rid of lock violations?
Sorry?
When are you going to get rid of lock violations?
Lock violations.
No one on the stage understands the question, I think. We may have
David, did you just answer that?
Van.
So David on our product management team, he might have an answer for you.
Well, I don't know. I think this is just Steve being a little facetious, maybe. Yeah, lock violations will occur within SQL communication, and Steve might just have an issue going on there that we need to check out. But, yeah. Basically, what a lock violation is multiple instances to the SQL server, going, oh, I've got a call for this particular item for pricing, and you want me to pull down product information and display that. And that's what Steve's encountering. But we'll have to address that.
It's a good question. And that's something we can bring directly to our engineering group.
Anything else for Mr. Evans? So we've got one in the corner.
Some more.
I've never asked this question before, so if it's a stupid one, forgive me. But
No stupid questions.
in Monsoon, vendors do not have the option to change the SKU. If a part number or something or SKU were to change or need to be changed for some reason, you actually have to go through and re-receive the item into Monsoon. I just want to know why.
I might be able to take that one. Basically, the SKU in Monsoon is the holy grail, if you will. It's the key that identifies that item across anything we ever try and do with that item, across any of the markets we ever try and post that item to, across pricing, across orders, across history, or across inventory lookup. So that key is so critical, we can't delete it. If we delete the SKU, or if we change the SKU, which is in effect deleting the SKU, that means that that item can't ever be referenced again against historical data or anything that has happened to it in the past. So that's why, and I know that this is a pain point. I've heard it again and again. It's something that happily for most people doesn't affect many SKUs, but when it does happen, it's a pain in the butt. I know that that's an issue. I know that we're aware of it in the product team. I know that we've actually looked into this in the past, what it would take in order to make that SKU number a bit more flexible or a bit more changeable. And honestly, the best answer we've come up with is create a better workflow for allowing you to create a new SKU and replace that old SKU with it, because we can't get rid of that old SKU. It's just intrinsic to the functioning of the software. So.
Yeah, I just got a guy that transposes numbers all the time.
Oh yeah. So basically, one of your vendors is changing their SKUs all the time, which makes you crazy. Is that? Yeah. 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 I understand. So it is something that the product team is aware of. I know David Van could probably talk to this as well, but you know, it doesn't. The unfortunate thing is it doesn't have an easy answer, and something that as we go forward, we're going to have to continue to struggle with to make it easier for you.
So I have. Sorry.
Maybe in the future to be able to manually receive and create the SKU that way, because at this point in Monsoon, you can only accept the Monsoon created one. If I manually receive an item, Monsoon creates the SKU for it.
If you're receiving media product into Monsoon one at a time, Monsoon creates the SKU for you. And you kind of want it to do that because there's a lot of consolidation of like SKUs and like products that you want to consolidate to, so you're not creating multiple listings on the channels for an individual item. With general merchandise, you can set your own SKU for any product category.
Manually receiving it?
Yep.
The other one would be buy only will accept a UPC under one SKU, and if you change the SKU or whatever, you're done with that UPC.
Yeah. Clark can probably speak to that more than I can.
Yeah, well, I just said, where's Randy? This is a known challenge on the buy.com side as well. We've talked to them a number of times about it. We'd like them to be able to do that. Unfortunately, right now, I don't believe that they can. But again, I would truly suggest bringing that to Randy. So just as another data point, if there's another person saying the same thing, he's hearing it again, it's more likely to rise up on their product management list as well.